Hey, what's up, everyone? I'm glad to see you guys. Wanted to let you guys know that I'm feeling much better. I've been sick, down and out with the change in the temperature and all of the trees just sprouting all sorts of crap and all that stuff. It's really wrecked me. And it does this every single year. I don't know why I'm surprised. I should have gotten my Claritin ready to go. Pop a few of those, and it should be good, right? I don't know. I guess I'll never learn, right? There's a lot of things I guess I'll never learn. That's all right. But I want to take a moment, man. If you guys were not really paying too much attention here to the last 30 to 45 days, we could all blink and totally miss it. Candy half dollars out of nowhere is like exploding onto the scene. Most appropriately, it's the really wildly colorful coins, whether they're legit or not, that's grabbing all of the headlines on the secondary market. From eBay to great collections to heritage auctions, it was certainly a feast for the eyes. And I've come to the conclusion, I'm probably kicking myself in the ass right now after I've reviewed a lot of this data that I'm going to show you guys. That I have sold a lot of these coins raw over the last 6 months, and now I'm like, what is wrong with me? I think it was like the end of February. I had a full BU roll of 1964 Kennedys that were in this old paper roll, and virtually every single coin was toned to the hilt. And I sold each and every single coin where I thought I was getting them out, to collectors, and they were going for pretty cheap, $20, $30, $40, and a lot of them were just friggin' amazing. And then now, here we are, as I'm kind of like delving into what has happened here in the last month, and then now I'm like, man, I've really left a lot of money on the table. But it's not the first time that I've encountered just stunning toned candy half dollars at all. Not even so much in rolls, but at coin shows. I've always found maybe 4 or 5 raw Kennedys that people are asking like $40-$50 for. I'm like, at that present time, it seems like a lot of money. But when we kind of deep dive into what has been happening here lately, these coins represent probably the best money grab situation that you could put yourself into, if and only if you want it to be that. There are people that are very opposed to grading through PCGS NGC, and that's fine. You can't force everybody to love that direction, even though we're clearly in that, coin grading, sports card grading, things like that. Is what's now. It's what's in. It's the most progressive thing that we're going through at this current time in various hobbies. So we just kind of have to learn to embrace it. I know investors and people with deep pockets, they would much rather prefer coins to be in the graded holders, especially tone coins. Because really quickly, a lot of these grading companies that I've listed, they're really good at sniffing out the artificial BS, all right? The artificially toned colored coins. They've let one or two slip by, some of those silver eagles that we've seen, that if you had to figure out why and how a certain coin color is a certain way, then, it's probably not, the most realistic form of toning out there. Gone are the days where people think toning is what we called tarnished. Grandma whipping out the Tarnex silver polish, sitting there scrubbing the forks, spoons, and knives and all the place settings until it's like a really spitty looking shine. But we have certainly turned 180 degrees here because everything these days, people pay a premium for artistic looks. So we have about 10 coins that I have pulled from eBay, Great Collections, and Heritage Auction. It's a good vast majority of them. I would say 90% of them all sold within the last like 45 days. So these are all very fresh listings, ladies and gentlemen. Before we do, I wanted to, and I usually don't do this, because I've seen a lot of my favorite music artists and actors and actresses, they've come and gone, passed away, things like that. And all we have to do is kind of look back. I'm like, man, the 80s were a great time to be alive, or the 90s, because the music was really awesome, during the 70s and 80s. It's a great time to be alive. But, just yesterday, rest in peace to the Iceman, Val Kilmer, who, of course, we all know him as Iceman on Top Gun. He played his part well, opposite to Tom Cruise. And it was that movie, collectively, it was one of our favorite movies growing up, between my mom and dad and me and my brother. And that was kind of like the movie when it came on, on a Saturday afternoon on TV. It's like, hey, we're going to take time to sit on the couch, and all four of us would be watching it. And it was like a perennial favorite. It was awesome. Action packed, you had the ridiculous, kind of, Val Kilmer, I tell you, man, he played his part really well. He was a guy that you wanted to hate, but at the very end of the movie, when it all was good, it was like, they're all hugging, and it was like awesome. And then he had his other movies. Admittedly, I've probably watched nearly every single one of his movies, even the one about Jim Morrison and that biopic. Watched the Batman. Let's say there were a few others as well. The one that a lot of people did not really care for, but I seemed to enjoy, was The Saint. That was one of those movies that after a while it became a bargain basement. You went to Blockbuster Video, you could go ahead and rent that one for $1. That's how far it has fallen. Because I'm not gonna say it wasn't his finest work. It was actually okay. I enjoyed it. And I just like the riveting plot kind of twists and all that stuff. But anyways, yeah, I just wanted to, I know he was battling, the whole throat cancer thing. And, it's hard to see a man fall from grace because of health issues in that matter. And, same for everyone as well. Rest in peace, Iceman. Thank you for all the movies that you've done. You didn't have like this great big, deep pool of acting credits, but what you did do, you made the best of it. All right. So, let's go ahead and jump right into these selections, because these things will absolutely make you go nuts. For the most part, it's like, wow, I've actually seen a few of these coins at the local coin show, and there's no way that they were asking $5,160. A lot of that we're about to see, I wish I could tell you that that the color did not play a huge part in the overall value of these coins. And at the end of the day, we have to address the 6,000 pound elephant in the room, right? Grading in some regards, that numerical grade really pushes the boundaries of how much coins are valued at. It doesn't matter what it is, So this one here, 90% silver. And you're also going to find that in this particular video that I think I also pulled up one or two coins that were not silver, because they had a few years where they did 40% composition coins. And anything with ace or silver toned beautifully, even those 40 percenters. But, this looks like your prototypical roll ender out of all things, because you have that really blast white reverse, which was obviously not faced up on that end of that roll. And you could go out there today, ladies and gentlemen, into the open market, maybe not necessarily like on eBay, because a lot of these that are on eBay, people are going to be asking, the moon for them. And why would they not, right? Because they know exactly what's happening. I think at that time, they just prefer to sell the coins raw in the full roll. as opposed to sending them off to a grading company. It may not be their thing, like I've said and alluded before. So, obviously, when we're looking at the coin, it doesn't have like a phenomenal true view kind of image, which these companies like Great Collections, PCGS, and a few of the other grading companies do a very great job at differentiating of what the coin looks like in the crappiest lighting scenario to what it looks like when you have the best optimal lighting for your cameras. This is what the coin would look like if you had it in hand with the most optimal lighting, flashing it around. You have like hints of green and blue and magenta. There's some gold in there. This one right here, ladies and gentlemen, is a true feast on the eyes. Is it the perfect toner? No. It's got what they call cabinet friction. It's the kind of like the swaths of like lighter silver shades and little, it looks like to be little scratches all over the place. It's not actually scratches, but it's just voids on the coin that never toned up as a result of where it was stored in. All right. So $5,160. This one sold at the end of February this year. And this is just an insane coin. And I will tell you, I've overlooked coins like this. If I went back 20 years, I saw a lot of this shit floating all over the place because I used to work at a casino part-time. So we had just oodles of BU original rolls of 1964, 65, 66 Kennedys, and they would have all of this color on the end caps of them. And we were in a dry climate. So they all seem to turn in some way, regardless of where you're at. Now it's kind of expedited if you're in an area where it's more there's more humidity and moisture and things like that. But it's that reaction of the paper from the rolls to whatever moisture in the air, kind of like all settling onto the coin and making that turn. Silver and copper, they are one of the fastest turning type of metals. They're highly reactive to their environment. Copper, tones as beautifully as silver does too, So, we've seen some pretty bonkers copper in various colors, Lincoln cents, Indian head cents, you name it. So this was obviously like one of the highlights, but it continues way until you see the madcap just kind of stuff here. And keep in mind, we're talking Kennedy half dollars, guys, which in some way is like one of the most approachable, least expensive collections that you could put together from beginning to end. And you could come across, nice toned coins like this raw for a hell of a bargain out in the show circuit. Try it and see. This one, kind of like one of the least impressive colorful coins, because most of it's kind of like this brown color with little hints of gold, little tiny little shades of blue in various areas. But, when you look at the reverse of the coin, it's really nothing to write home to mother about. It's a very kind of muted type of coin right here, but it is a 1970D, which, don't know if you guys know, they did not produce this specific date. It's the last year of the 40% composition silver. They did not produce these for circulation. You had to buy these in mint sets. So I don't know if this particular coin was like this coming out of a mint set, or whether a lot of these coins were cracked out of the 1970 mint sets and then put into rolls, and they just sat there for a while. There's a lot of question marks here with this one. Or maybe it was a coin that was put in an album, like an old Whitman or a Waite Raymond, or a Dansko, like an old early 70s, 80s Dansko, where there was a lot more sulfur in the paper. Maybe this coin could have been in there. But, the one that drove this one, believe it or not, is that grade. Mid-State 67 is a pretty big grade across the spectrum of Kennedy half dollars because of their relative size. These things were virtually like targets to one another. Like if you had a great big kind of canvas bag of these, you can imagine that every single one of those coins in that canvas bag, they're all making contact with each other. So finding one that's in, optimal shape to warrant a mid-state 67 grade is what gives it kind of its, prestige, if I had to guess. So this one sold February 28th, okay, one day away from the other one we looked at, 2025, for $5,520. Who would have thought that there would be this kind of like supernatural pricing on these coins? I know for me personally, I did. It's like, I've bought a few $half boxes, and I know a lot of you have too, because we all roll hunt $half, and we used to for like the last 15, 20 years. And the big hitters were anything silver, get it out of there. And 40 percenters were all over the place. I've even found a fair share of 70Ds right out of these rolls too. So yeah, it's not like that it was like an extraordinary find, because when I was roll hunting back in the early 2000s for silver $half, they were only worth about 85, 90 cents, based off of the price of silver during that time. They weren't really anything to get super totally excited about. But, at the time, it's like, oh yeah, pretty cool find. It was a little bit better than all the clad coins you came across. A big one here, my goodness, this one is actually live right now on Heritage Auctions. By the way, the first two coins sold on Heritage back during the Long Beach sale a month ago. So this one right here is going to end in the next few days. It's part of the Heritage Auctions April 3 through 6 U.S. Coin Signature Auction. I believe they do these once a month, where it really highlights some of like their bigger coins. But this is a 1966 Kennedy, 40% silver. Look at that obverse, ladies and gentlemen. This thing is off the wall. It's got 4 days left. Usually a lot of like the best bidding activity is toward like the last day. Generally toward the last like 10-15 minutes of that auction is where you're going to have people just kind of like dogpile the bids on this thing. But yeah, this thing is incredibly insane. Mid-state 67, again, you wouldn't think that'd be like a great grade on this. People tend to think with moderns they have to be 68 and 69 and all that stuff. It's just simply not the case here. So this one is currently live. It's anybody's guess where it will end up. I would say based off of what we've seen so far, this one will probably end up being $4,000 to $5,000. But we'll play it by ear. It's a total it's a total mystery how much people put into these things. But we do know that toner collectors are absolutely insane, and they got like the deepest pockets ever on the market. Here are a couple of recently sold eBay sales within the last 90 days. First one up, and this one here, I am just in shock because it's not even a mid-state coin. It's a PCGS AU58 out of all things. But holy shit, look at this thing. Just wildly incredible. If it wasn't for the toning, it would just be a regular Joe Schmo 40%er, right? With a value of like $2.50 in today's market. This one sold for $899. Okay, I did some checking and it's showing like the full price on there. It was originally $999, but AU58, which means the coin had circulated and it sat somewhere where it toned. And judging from the look of this, because the reverse of the coin doesn't have a whole lot of color, it has a little splashes along the periphery or the edge of the coin, but everything's all on the front. So are we looking at a coin that was sitting in a roll that created this? I don't know. But this one is just, this kind of like bucks the trends on what's acceptable in today's landscape of the coin market, right? We have a coin that graded about uncirculated, truly had been through some people's hands, but yet has this just insane toning that commanded nearly $1,000 premium onto the thing. But wait, there's more. Here's another one here. Again, further kind of like stretching out what we perceive to be acceptable. 2007D. Not intended for circulation. This is one of those dreaded NIFC coins that you hear so much about. Look at this thing. Colorful. Rainbow. All throughout. Graded. Mid-State 66, which is not that great of a grade for an NIFC coin because these things were sold directly from the Mint website. You had to go to the Mint website after like 2003 to buy half dollars if you were a hardcore collector. Because, yeah, they didn't make these for circulation because of the just how much they've crashed to collectors and for regular people spending the physical money out there because we were beginning to turn into more of the digital types, where we're using Apple Pay to pay for our coffee in the morning. But yeah, this thing again is truly insane for what it is. Insane in the membrane. And it's a Mid-State 66. Crazy. Who would have thought, right? Sold for $750, which, is a lot of money for that. I seem to think everything is like a lot of money. Here's another one that's sold, which is not like... I'm going to say this. There are some toning, which, they look good until you get like really up close to it. And it's like, maybe it's not too spectacular. Although this one is quite attractive. $630 is what it's sold for. PCGS Mid-State 66 on a 64D candy half dollar. Can you imagine walking into a coin shop and seeing this thing for $25 in dealer back stock? And they're like, I don't care. I don't even know if the toning's real. And then you end up buying it, and then you flip it to PCGS or whoever your grading company of choice is. And then you get back your true views, you get back the coin, you're sitting there, you're like, what in the world am I going to do with this thing? Now, there is a little bit of potential with this coin of doing better in an auction house like Great Collections or Heritage. This feels like $1,000 coin, especially in that Mid-State 66, which is pretty decent. It's no 67, it's no 68, but, the toning is what eventually kind of wins the day on this one. Here is a raw one. If you guys were able to find a coin like this in dealer backstock at some show, and you turn around, you're like, well, I'm not going to grade it, but hey, I will sell it and flip it on eBay. There you go. This is kind of like proof positive of what you can realize with the best possible photos that you could take just with your iPhone. This is like iPhone photos right here. 69D, another 40% silver, and all the wild and crazy Skittles-like coloration on there. This thing is insane. A relatively clean reverse, which indicates that this was probably a roll ender at one point. But they did a really good job taking the photos because it really highlighted what the true color is under the best lighting situation. $276.77 with 7 bids. If it wasn't for the color, we'd be talking about a coin that's worth roughly $2.50 in today's market. But wait, it freaking continues. Great collections time. Let's go ahead and check out a few of these standouts. Not necessarily from the last 45 to 60 days, but here are a few just hyper performing coins. 64 right here, ladies and gents, in a Mid-State 67 plus toner. 92 total bids. This one sold way back in 2018 in February for $8,156.25 with the juice. And you just have to really revel in what we have here. This thing is you have what could be the sun coming up in the morning, but yet, half of the sky is still very dark and you can still see stars and whatnot. This is that. This is kind of like that twilight to the day kind of feeling here. The back of the coin is, relatively clean of color. A few little spots. It's got overall just a little bit of a light kind of splotchy gold tone to it. Which would indicate that this was probably another roll ender, So yeah, kind of hard to believe that a coin like this that you could possibly pick out of dealer stock if they didn't care about toning for $25 to $50 is a serious home run. Here's a 1965. This one sold rather recently, February 16 of this year, 65. This is a 40 percenter to the tune of $7,667.61. Man, that's a mouthful. PCGS Mid-State 67 Plus with a QA sticker. Might I remind you guys that, this coin is like bonkers. This thing is like out of this world. Great collections, by the way. Ever since they acquired the services of the main photo taker at PCGS, has been just like capitalizing on all this because these photos have been just absolutely crazy on their website. But yeah, that's what a $7,000 coin looks like, and who would have thought, right? We have a couple more remaining. We have this one here that sold back in 2022. This time it's 69D. It's got a fireball next to the listing title, and that's very appropriate. NGC Mid-State 67 Plus with a star, QA, tone, a lot of data on this slab label. $7,667.61. Sounds very familiar because it's the same price as the previous coin, but look at that, man. Oh my gosh. I'm telling you, the trend is growing, my friend, till the end. The toning market, I don't see slowing down one bit. People used to lose their shit over some of the crazy, insane Northern Lights Morgan dollars, is what the collection is called, where people were paying $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 for them, and then now we're seeing kind of like a general widespread pour over effect to other coins. 65. In a CAC G holder, brand new, October 13, 2024, so about 6 months ago. This one sold for $5,461.88, and a great photo. Oh my goodness. Wowee. I mean, wow. Wow, really pretty. And I'm going to tell you, toning is not for everyone, but I'm telling you, if you come across one of these and you're not a toning person, do not dip these. Sell it, and then get something that appeals better to you, I can't stress that enough. Capitalize on it. You don't have to love things like this, but there are a lot of people who stake every cent in their savings account to buy some of the wildest, most beautiful artistic toning that you could find out there in a graded holder. And then the final one we're going to end off on, one that sold again in October of just last year, 6 months ago. Very recent activity here. 68D in a PCGS Mid-State 67 toner. Sold for $4,612.50. Oh my God, this thing. Oh, they have all been nothing short of, this is kind of like when the clouds open up and the heavenly rays come out, and it's like, this is the coin that they drop and it floats right into your hand. You either deserve to find something like this or you don't. And it's poetry in motion. It's like, this is the type of coin that, if you didn't see it in photos or in your hand, you wouldn't think it even exists because it's that insane. But someone dropped some serious cash power on all of these coins. I want to let you guys know that a good fair majority of them are recent, within the last like half year. What's the trend telling us about these? That, the beloved candy half dollar, which is going to receive a redesign for the semi-quincentennial, and rumor is it's going to be the most stunning redesign out of all of the coins in the U.S. portfolio. There's going to be a lot of attention being built around this coin, and there already is. And then when the coin comes back in 2027 to the continuation, they're not going with the original design. They're not, So, yeah, I mean, take it for what it is. Really, really insane kind of like look at the overall market. I've found coins like this, and I've sold them for like $50. I'm the stooge. I'm the stoop. That at the time I was like, oh, I'm doing okay on them because I paid $15 a piece for them. No. I mean, if you guys find these, capitalize on it. Because we're talking like some serious, insane money. We're not talking about like, oh, you can flip these for 30, $40. There are many multiple thousands of dollars. And that number is just going to continue to grow as the popularity continues to shift and kind of insert itself like a Tetris game into what we have going on for next year for this semi-quincentennial event. I'm telling you, it's just going to get more insane. So that's what I wanted to talk about. Thank you guys again for tuning in. This was a lot of fun. We don't normally have the opportunity to talk about Kennedy half dollars this deep and crazy, but based off of what we're seeing here from the last 30 to 45 days, we're seeing kind of like this built pyramid of power when it comes to these coins. And I figure it's time that we talk about. So there we go. We talked about for half an hour. Hopefully it wasn't too much of a burden on your day, but it sure was a lot of fun for me to just share some of this information with you. Around the league, all the auction websites, we're seeing more of these, and then we have that one on Heritage that ends here in a couple days. It's anybody's guess where that one's going to end, but I'm going to be sitting tight and seeing where that one is. So I'm your host, Sean, with Blue Ridge Silverhound. Thank you guys again for all of your views and support. It was a huge pleasure. I want you guys to have a great rest of your day. Keep on collecting, my friends. That's why we're here. We are community. And I hope to see you guys next time on another great coin video. So long.